Bum bum bum. Bum bum bum. Bum bum bum. Bum bum bum. Hey everyone. Uh Rapthany Valtano here, the internet's busiest rap battle fan. And today we're doing the first ever Let's Argue, where I take a look at your opinions on Twitter and I tell you if I agree with them or not. Big shocker, I know. Let's just get started. We need to destroy the term bonus battle. I've seen fire audios with basic editing and mid audios with fire editing. I think the only difference is it hurts your BOTM score. Probably. I won't argue with you on that. In fact, I'll offer a bit of transparency in that in my experience from being a judge on the BOTM judge jury is that a lot of us will usually cap how far a bonus battles video can score, usually being a 4, which is understandably not a great metric anymore with how some people do their videos. That being said, I don't think bonus battles need to like die out. Like I think earnestly some content is bonus battle. Like I think the term bonus battle doesn't need to be destroyed. It's just being misused by quite a few people. And so I definitely understand where you're coming from. I feel like BOTM and the community's different metrics have stunted a lot of creators' growth because they rather adhere to the judges' liking than create battles that are appealing to their audience. Yes, there's a very common opinion of BOTM detractors. And while I don't disagree with you that I think the most original creators are ones that usually aren't like super involved in BOTM, I think also we're making strides to fix that. We're keeping a more consistent metric of like, this score means good, this score means great, this score means baller. But I also think that our jury is more, I guess, diverse in what we like now. So I do agree that Battle of the Month is probably not the best place to make your content unique. I argue that you shouldn't use it for that in the first place. I think that it's a moot point to try to say that it's stunting creativity, because I think it's more about making sure that you got the basics right, because the creators that do the best in Battle of the Month are the creators that really understand their basics. Some people's editing style just look like a slight variation of Rabbi's. Again, you're not wrong. A lot of people follow Rabbi's style, and you know, I think Rabbi's style isn't even bad. I think you mentioned that in one of the replies of the tweet. But I mean, it's the core like RB style. I don't think there's much you can deviate from it that isn't just entering like a whole different medium. That being said, there are people with like pretty unique styles. Like I think Rayan is a surprisingly unique editor. Battles need to re-embrace more simple jokes. There's this silent precedent where good writing is having deep lore references and complex meanings shoved into every line. Jokes and references should aim to be at least somewhat understandable for a surface level or fan/newbie. Yeah, no, I think that's like the second half of that I absolutely agree with, is that when you're making a battle, it's obviously important to be able to cater to the fan base and have a lot of references that only they'll get. But you know, you should also have some stuff for people who aren't as familiar with the material. I do think that we are, you know, re-embracing more simple jokes. If you look at series like Gridline or someone like Danny, who aren't necessarily hitting us with like the most like, here's 17 meanings in one bar. Like they don't necessarily do that, but they're still relatively successful. The only reason the community doesn't embrace that is because a lot of people don't know how to make like a really solid punchline. So yeah, when we learn that, we'll figure that out. Reusing characters is overhated. If you can make the character work and feel different enough from the first project, I think it's not a huge deal. It's not like you're drawing the same still in the same pose. You're giving them more to do. That's actually a pretty good metaphor for reusing characters. I do agree, as someone who, you know, has done that. You can definitely reuse the same character, and if you give them a new vibe, a new setting, a new like line ideas, blah 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 blah, you know, you're not. Yeah, just keep reusing characters. I do think you have a certain limit. I think like, I'll say 3 battles with a certain character is probably your limit. And other than that, you know, do whatever you want as long as you're able to push the boundary of what you did the first time. I'ma sound like a hypocrite, but super duper cinematic battles can't be taken seriously. It's just not fit for the format. Wow. No, I think your sense of humor is just broken, where things that even are meant to be taken seriously are just like ironically funny to you. Because there are battles, even within ERB, like the Jack the Ripper battle that's pretty serious, and Pennywise versus Joker is pretty serious, but you probably find them funny because like there's a sense of irony behind it. And here's another follow-up on that take, is that the spectrum goes both ways. If the battle's being overly serious, it can be a flaw. If it's being over comedic, it can also be a flaw. Absolutely. It should fit to the mood of the matchup and the mood of what you're going for. Do whatever with you want. And, you know, yeah, just treat a matchup right, and the mood will come naturally. I'll make a thread of a few different ones. Too bad. This is Let's Argue. You're gonna get one take. Well, we don't have a lot of time, so I'm just gonna give you my yes and no's. Waldo versus Slender Man is the best battle from each character. Probably. I think it's a bit... I think there are contenders, at least more so on Waldo's side. I think the grid line is probably a contender. Squid James isn't the best DRB, and I would argue that it's a bit overrated. Yeah, man, totally. No, you're not even overtly wrong. It's just what's the point of this opinion? This one's less unpopular, but if you think Battle of the Month's a great way to definitively judge battles and rank them, you're crazy. Correct. All opinions are subjective. The jury's opinions just matter a little more. That's crazy how that works. I don't fully agree that using an already used beat hurts the project. This is also a good point. Do something. It's like what we said about characters. If you bring something different to the table, you're more than welcome to do it. I think with beats, you're a bit more tied down because obviously there's only so much you can do with a beat in comparison to a character. But I welcome new variations of Maniac any day of the week. The community is really annoying and weird about joke battles. I don't like how the format is gatekept. I don't think the format is necessarily gatekept. I think people are just actually more critical towards joke battles because with a normal battle, that can go for so many different things that if you don't personally like it, it could be a subjective thing. But comedy, it's a pretty yes or no Boolean thing of, does this make you laugh? Does this not make you laugh? So people are way more comfortable being like, this isn't funny, stop making joke battles. Typography can be a really interesting editing format, but it really hasn't been used to its fullest at this point. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Typography, I think maybe is already at its fullest point. You bring up Harry versus Mysterio, and that's actually a really good performance. It's a really good example of typography being good. Guardian versus Gordo, I wouldn't use as an example, but I respect the idea. Editing is by far the least important part of a battle. Oof. Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you there that, like, an amazing video doesn't save a mediocre battle. Wes Anderson versus Edgar Wright is the best Dustin battle since 2020. Oof. Now that's a pretty that's a take, Eddie. I don't know about this one. I think it's one of the best characterizations, if that's what this is about. I think it's one of the best characterized, one of the best maximizing a concept that Dustin has done maybe since 2020. But I'd argue that there are battles that I don't like to use this term, objectively better than Wes Anderson versus Edgar Wright. Gridline is the best rap battle series. So what do I think is the best series? I don't know. I don't want to put my thoughts on that. You know, I'll say it. Probably Animation versus Anything is probably the best series. Hi, this is editing Battle Tano. I'm not editing this, but we're watching the edit back. We're watching our opinions back, and I after thinking about it, I don't think Animation versus Anything is the best series. I think the best series... Okay, maybe not best series. I'll just say best creator. I think the best creator is Patrick, so yeah, that's it. We're moving back to that. I like deeper lyrical meanings, but rap battle writing has to be a lot more clear and witty for it to work better. If this is in a general sense of like everyone should do this, you're probably right. If, I don't know, I feel like this is pretty obvious, and that, like, your writing shouldn't be too complex to where, like, you know, you have to jump 7 circles for a line to make sense. A battle with bad writing but a good audio is better than a battle with good writing but a bad audio. Yeah, probably. It's a case of, like, a bad audio can negatively affect how you hear and experience the writing, which is, you know, the meat and potatoes, apparently. So, you know, I will agree that it is really important to get a solid audio before the writing, because the writing can be ironed out a lot, but if your audio is bad, there's probably not much you can do to fix it. Pineapple belongs on pizza. I've never had pineapple on pizza, and I refuse to care about this debate. I have no opinion. Characterization is an underrated yet important part of writing. It's why a lot of Harry Potter battles bother me. Pretty much none of them get Harry's character correct. I don't think it's underrated. I think a lot of people do think about some form of characterization. It's just that with some characters, it's very difficult to make that work in the rap battle format. I think that, you know, there are characters that are naturally more prone for you to go, oh, this is for sure what they would say, and this is for sure not what they would say. There are characters with a lot more gray areas that you won't know unless you're like a mega diehard fan of this character. So I do think the characterization is important, but there are obviously some characters where you're not going to be able to perfectly pinpoint it unless you want, like, to overtly analyze everything. Billy Butcher's syndrome deserves more praise, not gonna lie. Ooh. Need some water for that take. God, so hot. Most of our battles don't do anything super interesting with the series. It's the main reason why it's the worst milked series in community history. Of course, an opinion that can only come from Meta Machine. No, I'm just gonna straight up say, the problem is that Danganronpa doesn't offer a lot of characters with deep characterization. Like, a majority of them will die halfway into the game, and you're kind of just like, that's all there really is to them. It's not the worst milk series in community history. I think there are other characters that people do way less with, like a majority of Mario battles, and not just Mario the character, Mario the series, Baldi, Five Nights at Freddy's, even Undertale at some point was just kind of used to get the name out there, because I don't know. DR might be the most egregious example of lack of material to trying to stretch that out for a battle, but I don't think it's the worst milked. It's okay to do a matchup someone else has done if you can do something new and unique with it. Yes, under very specific circumstances. I think the main one is that there has to be a considerable amount of time between the first version and your version. Otherwise, it's gonna feel, I don't know, a bit mean-spirited, I'd argue. I don't know. There's something about it that feels a little demeaning. And also, if there's a sizable jump in quality, if what you can make is, like, substantially better, worthwhile better than what the other person has done, then yes, you can use their matchup. As long as, of course, also you're adding on to it. There's a lot of conditions to really justify just straight up redoing a matchup. 2020 DRB is DRB's magnum opus. What? Alright, I'm moving on. 2022 wasn't that good of a year for rap battles. While we still got plenty of good ones, there were significantly less compared to 2021. Also, most of Freshies battles were overrated in 2022. Sorry, but that's how I feel. Yeah, how you feel, is incorrect, but that's also okay. No, I'm not gonna argue that we didn't get, like, some of the best projects from people ever in 2021, but we also got some of those in 2022 as well. I think 2022 is very good if you look outside of the top creators. If you only watch the top creators, I could see the argument for 2022 being weaker overall. Ooh, Benjamin shouldn't have played Bruno. Yeah, let's move on. I agree, but let's move on. ERB is overrated, and I'm so tired of seeing it used as the Lord of rap battles. The writing is pretty boring and outdated, and nowadays, I'm pretty sure is what you meant to say there. And even if it's fun, it's not nearly as good as other stuff Also, one of the best 2022 battles was Freddy versus Cartman. Redo gag for this take is so hot. What a spicy take. Oh, you might get banned off Twitter for that one, Chief.
Too soon.
Oh, sorry. Jaws versus Loch Ness Monster is the best Dustin battle for 2021, tied with Trevor Henderson. Oh, okay. This comes from Nugget. I think the Trevor Henderson battle is actually a bit underrated. I think it's surprisingly solid. The Jaws battle, I'll just flat out say no. I think it's pretty properly rated. Maybe even just like the teeny tiniest bit overrated. Unlikely matchups give better results than serious ones. By what metric? Like, are you sitting there in front of like your screen being like, this is an unlikely matchup and that's good. This is a serious matchup and that's not good. There's no inherent flaws to any matchup. Well, that's not true. There's no inherent flaw to a certain type of. That's also not true. Unlikely matchups and serious matchups, there's no inherent flaw in picking one or the other. Let's go with that. You know, it doesn't matter enough, I think, for it to be like a true difference of what's better and what compared to the other. And that closes the first Let's Argue. Let me know what takes you agreed with, what takes you didn't agree with. Hopefully I gave people a lot more outlook on these opinions and hopefully provided a new perspective to people. And yeah, if you want me to keep doing these, let me know in the comments. With that being said, Ramthony, Battletano, forever.